Okay, so good afternoon, grade 10. So today we will discuss our lesson for this week, which is quarter 4, week 3 in Mapeh. So first we have here in music. So in music, our lesson is all about the musical play. So we all know that musical play is popular and generally lighter form of musical drama than the opera. So we have here the Broadway and the West End musicals. So for the Broadway, so musicals are perhaps widely associated with the Broadway plays which can be located in New York City. And the West End productions naman niya, which is in London. So the first major Broadway musical was Showboat, which is in 1927. So since then, musical have presented many other themes. So Siamese royalty in The King and First. So English aristocracy in May Fair Lady. Australian history in The Sound of Music. Medieval English tragedy in Camelot and interracial gang rivalry and romance in The West Side Story. So we have here nga scenes that film adaptation sa West Side Story. Okay, we have the Broadway musicals, which are popular entertainment with themes and texts which are generally light and very easy to understand. So who among you here are familiar with Miss Saigon? Okay, Miss Saigon, so ang bida sa Miss Saigon, si Lea Salonga. So si Lea Salonga, ang first ni Filipino, nga naging well-known tungod sa iya nga role, naging portray sa Miss Saigon. So ang role ni Lea Salonga sa Miss Saigon is si Kim. So mali nga name sa Miss Saigon. And ang Miss Saigon nga ina nag-won or ang iyang pag-portray dira sa Miss Saigon, she won the prestigious Tony Award for Theater in the United States of America. And ang Laurence Olivier Award, which is in London. So, ang munang award nga na-receive niya sa nag-portray siya sa Miss Saigon. So, for the Miss Saigon first opened at West End in London in 1989 and closed in 1994. Next is we have the Philippine musical plays. So in the Philippines naman, musical plays is more recent development than in Broadway and West End, relying mostly on adaptation of the novels, literary works, or biographical sketches of famous artists. So amo niya sa iba nga bansa, amo niyang famous ang Broadway and West End. Pero diri sa aton sa Philippines, muna mga musical play. So kumbaga, actually yung Philippines medyo ulihi magida sila when it comes sa mga activities kumbaga. So biskan sa diin nga bagay, I think ang Philippines medyo left behind man gyud. So but Philippines kumbaga ga-try nga magsabay man. So we have here the Andres Bonifacio, ang dakilang anak pawis, the musical. So the musical play, Andres Bonifacio, ang dakilang anak pawis, okay, is a 5-act work commissioned by Alfonso Puyat in 1979. So depicting the life of the revolutionary hero, which is si Andres Bonifacio. So it was co-produced by the Cultural Center of the Philippines and the Andres Bonifacio Music Foundation in. So para maging successful na ang Cultural Center of the Philippines, hanggang Andres Bonifacio Foundation nag-join force para para makahimo ni sila sang Andres Bonifacio the musical. So, ang person behind naman sa Dakilang Anak Pawis song, which is si Atang de la Rama. So, siya ng person behind sa song sang Dakilang Anak Pawis. So, on January 11, 1902, honorata, niya name ni Atang de la Rama Hernandez, a national artist for theater and music, was born in Pandacan, Manila. Orphaned at an early age, so she grew up under the care of an elder sister who was married to a zarzuela composer, where she was constantly exposed to the zarzuela. So because kumbaga sa influence sa husband sa iya nga elder sister, so tungod da naka-learn sa sang zarzuela. So we have here the musical production. So in the UP production of the musical, so the songs naman rendered by Miss Laurel as Atang included notable Kundiman favorites. So we have here different Kundiman yung mga songs. Nasaan Ka Irog, Pakiusap, Madaling Araw, Nabahag ang Banga o From Zarzuela ng Dalagang Bukid, and Masayang Dalaga, which is another zarzuela man Japon. So another musical play is the Noli Me Tangere. So for the Noli Me Tangere naman, in 1996, Noli Me Tangere returned to the CCCP. So but this time, as a musical play naman, composed by Mr. Ryan Cayabyab, which I think all of you are familiar with Ryan Cayabyab. So with libretto by national artist Bienvenido Lumbera, it was staged at CCP Little Theater from February 14, 1996 as a production of the Tanghalang Filipino, which we discussed the last time sa different nga kumbaga theater. So ang Noli Me Tangere the musical follows the storyline of the original novel and the opera. And I think most of you here are familiar with the story of Noli Me Tangere. So aside from Noli Me Tangere, ang El Filibusterismo, kabalo naman ka muna. Diba na-discuss na sa inyo nga? Filipino subject. So but there are slight differences in the partitioning of the story into the different acts in the dramatization of the ending as well of the music and the libretto. So, even though kumbaga nga nang kabalo sila sa story, sa Noli Me Tangere, may slight nga changes kumbaga when it comes mo nila sa nga musical. Okay? And not all kumbaga nga ara sa sa story or sa novel is i-apply gina nila tanan sa musical. So sometimes may mga changes nga gakalatabo. So the musical play had its rerun. Yung say rerun, yung pagbaliwat in 2011 to 2012 during the 150th anniversary of Rizal's birth as part of the Tanghalang Filipino Silver Anniversary Celebration, and again in 2013. Both times at the CCP Little Theater. Si Audie Himora directed a young cast composed of mainstream actors, which includes si Mark Bautista and Gian Magdangal, alternating Crisostomo Ibarra and Chris Bilonco as the Maria Clara. So, actually, ang mga musical play, subong because of the pandemic, we will not be able to watch kumbaga sa mga musical play nga kay ang mga theater subong kumbaga close. But kung wala pandemic, mostly ang mga theater open na sila and they kumbaga pagawa na sila sa different na mga musical play. Next is for arts. So our topic in arts is all about roles in stage production. So for this one naman, so roles in stage production, most visible on stage in a theater production, which is the actors and the actresses lang. Kasi sila lang na ang makita naton sa stage. But behind that, kung bagay sa success ng isa ka theater production, amo na ang mga person behind or mga tao na involved sa stage production. So sila na ang nag-work for how many months para maging successful ang isa ka theater production. So first we have here the producer. So when we say producer, magkabal ka nga producer, the professional stage producer, so this is the person who takes the play from mere concept to an actual finished presentation. He or she chooses all the team members and assigns them in their functions and oversees the casting of the actors and actresses for the different roles. So, ang producer, so aside, kumbaga, ang roles ng producer, siya na ang gahimo sa isa ka team. So, siya man na ang gaano kung sino ang i-cast niya nga mga actors and actresses. Aside from that, ang papel palit sa producer, hindi lang kumbaga nga mag-gather sa or maghimo sang team para maging successful ang isa ka production, but sometimes siya man ang naga-finance sang isa ka production. Amo na ang obra sang isa ka producer. So in short, bamo obra ang producer. Pero once na maging successful ang isa ka production kumbaga, so iya man na siya man ang may pinakadako nga ma-earn. Next is the director. Okay, so for the director naman, for a script intended for stage performance, the writer, the director, so siya na ang overall nga nag-handle kumbaga sa mga actors and actresses. So siya nag-check kung tsakto bala ang pag-portray sang actors kag sang actresses. So siya man na, ang director man na also ang ga-check kung ang delivery sang mga actors and actresses are intakto. Next is we have the playwright. So when we say naman playwright, so he or she, kumbaga, ang writer sang script. So siya na ang gahimo sang storyline sa theater production. Kung ano ang type sang ipagawa nila nga musical play. Depende sa writer. Next is set designer. So when you say naman set designer, the concept and creation of the physical stage setup is the task of the set designer. So he or she builds the set that will stimulate the world that play's characters are supposed to live in. So ano naman ang set designer? So siya ni ang gahimo kumbaga sa mga settings sa isa ka play. For example, ang theme gabi it may be minimalist, depende kumbaga sa musical play nga ginahimo. So siya na ang nagahimo sang settings kumbaga nga kinahanglan sa isa ka play. Next is the lighting designer. So for the lighting designer naman, coordinating closely with the set designer, so abo na siya ang lighting designer. So lighting is critical in creating the mood of each scene in play. So highlighting a dramatic movement, signaling the entrance of the character, focusing attention on a specific spot on stage, or even providing a blanket of darkness for a set and props changes. So as a lighting designer naman, so siya ni ang in charge, like for example, ang light gina-focus lang sa bida. Or sometimes, kumbaga sa kabilugan. Or sometimes, di magamit sa ng red nga light, or blue nga light. Depende sa set designers. Kagina-base yun na, sa lighting designer. Kagina-base yun na ang lighting, kumbaga, depende sa theme sang or depende sa theme sang musical play. We have here another roles in stage production is the costume designer. So for the costume designer naman, the actors and actresses must look believable in their roles. And much of this is owned to the costume designer. Of course, So kung ang role na isang actor, kasi ang actress be ispigado, hindi man na sa pwede nga mag-wear sa ball gown. So, di ba? So, dapat, kung ano iya nga role, is appropriate ang costume nga iya nga ginagamit. Or iya nga ginasuksok. Next is the sound designer. So, for the sound designer naman, similar to the lighting designer, the sound designer serves as a vital role in creating and enhancing the atmosphere of the performance. Sound in this case includes music both on stage and as the background, which the sound designer may need to source to suit the general time and place of the play as well as particular scenes. So, di ba, when we watch mga musical play, so hindi kinaya malikawat, aragin na iya ang kanta-kanta. So, ang sound designer, siya na daang in charge. Sa mga music nga, gakaaton nga gakabatian. Next is the production manager. So, when I say naman production manager, coordinating at the complex behind the scenes detail of staging a play is the production manager. So, he or she is tasked with overseeing the crews for the set and props, the sound and music, the lighting, and the costumes. So this includes ensuring that all the needed elements, facilities, and equipments are not only available, but are in good working order, properly cataloged and labeled, and safely stored from one rehearsal to the next, up until the time of the performance. So, ang role naman sa production manager, so siya na gina-check na kung okay na bala ang costume, ang props, ang lighting, ang stage. So, siya na ang in charge. So, gina-check na kung na-arrange bala kung bagatanan or ara in order. So, muna ang role sa production manager. Next is the technical director. So, ang technical director naman niya, ang role niya is the play's director throughout the entire production process. So, from the time the director presents his or her vision for the play and issues instructions at every rehearsal, the technical director carefully notes how each actor and every members of the stage, sound, lighting, and costume crews need to be coordinated to bring the director's vision to life, ensuring that every instruction is properly executed. So, ano naman niya, gina-make sure niya, kumbaga, sa technical director, kung ano ang gusto sa director dapat masunod. Amo na ang papel sa technical director. Kung sa atin pa, ang gina-visualize ang director, siya na maging possible or matabo ang gina-visualize ng director. So, ang technical director na ang mahimo. Next is the choreographer. So, for the choreographer naman, so sa musical play, so may dances. So, siya na ang in charge nga maghimo sang steps. So, siya na ang in charge dira, ang choreographer. So, hindi na kumbaga sa mga dance steps. So, siya man na ang in charge. Ang choreographer man ang in charge kung diin masunod, diin magdampi ang mga actors or actresses. And last is the makeup designer. Last role sa stage production is the makeup designer. So, ang makeup designer naman niya, as the costume designer deliberates on the character's main attire, the makeup designer is brought to plan the hairstyles and makeup to complement the costumes. So, siya naman niya, ang make-up sa actor kag actresses, ginabagaya sa costume nga gina-wear sa mga actors and actresses. So, ang role, kumaga, kung mabatian mo lang ang word ng makeup designer, so, gisultin sa mind mo nga, okay, easy lang asa nga job, di ba makeup lang asa? No, it's not. Hindi na easy. Kay siya ng mabusisi na sa kagputi na sa nga o lubrahon ang maging isa ka makeup designer. So, dapat kumbaga, nag-complement dito sa kada costume sa mga actors kang actresses ang makeup na nila. And that's it for our lesson in arts. The different roles of the stage production. Next is for the PE. So, for the PE naman, the last time we discussed the arm movement in cheer dance. So, today, the basic stance in cheer dancing naman. So, we have numerous stunts associated with cheer dancing. So, we have here some basic stunts na ginayos sa cheer dance. First is the prep. Next is the couple or the awesome. The split lift, the shoulder stand, the shoulder sit, the scorpion, and the heel stretch. So, among ipang mention po, amo na sila mga basic stunts which we can see in the cheer dance. Next is for the help. So, for the help, we have the examples of career pathways which we discussed the last time. Game isa-isa ta to. So we have here the nutrition, disease prevention and control, dental health, environmental healthcare management, drug prevention and control health, emergency medical services, the personal health care, maternal and child care, the mental health care, community health care, health education, and the occupational and safety, which the last time we discussed sa aton nga week 2 in health. So aside from that, we have the allied health professionals that are presented in the Philippines. So amo ni sila ang mga allied health professionals. So first, we have the audiologist, the chiropractor, the clinical psychologist, the dietitian or the nutritionist, emergency medical technician, guidance counselor, health educator, massage therapist, medical assistants, medical technologist, midwife, nurse, occupational therapist, speech-language pathologist, radiation therapist, respiratory therapist, and the social worker. And that's it for our lesson for the quarter 4 week 3 in Mapeh. So thank you for listening for our lesson for this week.